What is up, Gorilla Nation? It is Relentless here, bringing you yet another Division 2 build video. If you happen to be new to the channel, or you're just enjoying the content, then please be sure to ground and pound that like and subscribe button. Also, reach up there, trigger the bell, and turn on post notifications, so that way you never miss a live stream or a video that is uploaded. Now, before we hop into the build itself, I'm going to send you over to some gameplay. Hope you guys enjoy. We'll see you back in a moment. Watch it. This is what I do for that. Dope. Oh.
I'm not registering. What the fuck? Oh my god, they emptied out a whole LNG clip and I did nothing.
One down. Melted, kid. Yeah, you get melted too, bitch. How'd them hives work out for you? How'd those hives work for ya? Hope you enjoyed the gameplay. Now let's go dive a little further into this. Let's damage ourselves so that we have full-blown berserk proc. And then, of course, we switch. Not too bad, 37. And then, of course, with our other SMG, which is, you know, damage drop-off. But as you'll notice, that reload speed, and that is because it is actually an MPX with fast hands. Now, typically I will switch between this one and, of course, the MP5 down here, but mainly because this one has fast hands and, of course, a little extra RPM over the MP5, even though the MP5 has a 3K higher base damage. And fast hands is critical hits as a stack of 5% reload speed bonus. It can have a max stack of 30. So if I crit 30 bullets out of those 50, then I'm going to get 150% reload speed, which can come in handy because, as we all know, if you can't shoot and you're stuck in the middle of a reload, then you can't crit. And if you can't crit, you can't self-heal once you're running berserk and clutch. So definitely the reload speed comes in handy, but it does also fall to personal preference. And this one in particular has, of course, greased, while holstered weapon swap speed is increased by 10%, which directly synergizes with the perfect bloodlust, aka the claws out talent. Now the other one, as I mentioned, was an MP5N at 23 10k base damage with strained Allegro and of course cannon for that little extra distance and throwing grenades. And then of course the main one as I keep as my secondary, so that way I first apply damage with my first, and then before I have to reload, if I'm utilizing the MP5, then I'll quickly switch to the Vector, which in turn procs Perfect Bloodlust to get that additional damage. And by that time all my armor is depleted, which in turn also gives me a full-blown proc of Strained to give me all that extra goody good damage. But it's always up to personal preference. Now let's get into the build itself. Now the only thing that is more or less interchangeable is of course the mask. I am also using Hollow Man, which is the perfectly insulated, which gives me 50% hazard protection, and for having one piece Yaw gear gives me an additional 10% hazard protection for a total of 60% hazard protection. It has 29,427 health and 5% crit chance, and this is the one that was actually at the Den of Thieves vendor yesterday. So I picked up quite a few. Now the only other option, let's say for instance, you're able and you're happy with just being able to get over 200k health when utilizing a Clutch Berserk, and as long as you have some kind of hazard protection, then you're good with it. But yet you want to apply a little more damage. Well, have no fear. I also have this mask that that is basically in a situation if I'm comfortable with 216k armor, I mean not armor but health, then I will switch to this, and of course I will roll actually more crit chance on it. But it'll have concussion. Headshots grants 15% headshot damage for 2 seconds. 5 seconds with marksman rifle. So whatever weapon you're using, you get that 15% for 2 seconds after you hit a headshot, and the duration is just longer if you're using a marksman rifle. But I still have at least 50% hazard protection. The only difference is I'm losing out on that 29,427 health. So these are two options depending on your playstyle and how you prefer. Either 255.3k health, or then you can go with the still 50% hazard protection and then go with the additional damage, because with that Vector at 1320 RPM you can land quite a few headshots in a matter of those 2 seconds. So now on to the rest of the gear, starting with the holster, the other main component to this build, and it is a Weaponwear holster with 41,201 health. I did accidentally deconstruct a piece that had 49k health, and once I find a better roll than this one, then that'll apply. So if I still had that 49,000, then that would put me over at 260k health. But Perfect Bloodlust. Weapon swapping grants 20% weapon damage for 5 seconds. This buff is lost for 5 seconds if you weapon swap while it is active. So essentially, you don't have to get a kill. The only thing you have to do in order to proc this Perfect Bloodlust is just simply swap your weapons. And if you're running double SMGs, then after you unload one magazine out of one, instead of having to take the time to reload if you don't have fast hands on the SMG in question, then that immediate weapon swap will give you an additional 20% weapon damage, in this case my Vector, and then in those 5 seconds, as a Vector with 1320 RPM, you can empty the whole magazine in less than 5 seconds, so it comes in really handy. And it has an offensive mod slot, and this one I get an additional 5.5% SMG damage. Now on to the other piece of Weaponwear, 12% SMG damage and a 3% crit hit chance, and of course Clutch. The only reason why Clutch is not highlighted is because, as you can see in my hand, I have the shotgun out, which, as you'll see in the description, that shotguns do not apply when it comes to Clutch. It's only LMGs, SMGs, and assault rifles. So in case you didn't know, now you know why it is not highlighted. But Clutch, critical hits restore 20% missing health and repair 1% missing armor. Not too shabby. And by utilizing the Weaponwear with the double reds, that I'm able to utilize things like a Yaw gear mask and still incorporate one piece of Suck Me Off, such as these knee pads, and one more Akami. But let's not jump too far ahead of ourselves. Starting with the chest piece now. 59,596 health, 7.5% crit hit chance, and only 6% weapon damage. I wish that value was higher, but beggars can't be choosers. Once one becomes more available, then I will definitely be swapping out and been maxing this as we go along. And of course, Berserk, 8% weapon damage for every 20% of max armor depleted. And the Weaponwear chest piece versus the Fenris has one offensive mod slot, And the Weaponware has 2 offensive mod slots. In this case, I get 5.5% SMG damage in one, and another 5% SMG damage in the other. Now on to the backpack. 34,708 health, 6.5% crit hit damage, and then of course a measly 3.5% weapon damage. And again, once I'm able to find one with the same roundabout talents and attributes, then I will be min-maxing this as well. So if you have higher base damage on a backpack such as this, then you're going to be doing considerably more damage than what I am. But it has Vital and Sparked. Also, 1 utility mod slot, and since I'm utilizing no skills whatsoever, then I get that 7% reload speed that helps out with, of course, reloading, since you are utilizing the Clutch Berserk. Now the last and final piece is the Suck Me Off knee pads. 8% crit hit chance, 11% skill haste. You know, it doesn't matter if it's skill haste or skill power. Not too much skill power that I can put on knee pads that's going to help me out really too much, considering, you know, the mods that, you know, I do not have for such a low skill power. So it does, I do get stuck with, you know, with that. But I am utilizing Cloaked. When your armor is depleted, nearby enemy skills are disrupted for 10 seconds. Can occur once every 30 seconds. And not too many people are sitting back in cover. Typically what I found in the Dark Zone over the last couple of weeks, it's either they are playing Flash or Lightning McQueen, where they just want to run to you, drop their hive, and keep on running. Well, if they got a seriously high hive, then even though you have hazard protection and may even have 100%, and you're not taking any bleed damage, you're still taking damage itself from the hive. So if that damage is strong enough and actually takes off my armor, then if I'm nearby, then it's going to disrupt skills and of course that player. And then there's no mod slots, so we don't get any bonus there, but we do get 10% SMG damage for having that one piece of Suck Me Off. Now basically I am running the double cheese, the triple cheddar, with the double hills on Sharpshooter. And case in point, because basically nowadays people want to run hives, seeker mines basically. We have run into squads that have nothing but, you know, all 4 of them have hives, as you've seen in the clips at the beginning, to where they just, no matter where you go, everybody is dropping a hive in every single location. So no matter what you do, you basically have to run through it. And then some are supplementing their heals out for the likes of a seeker mine. And even though I don't have any explosive damage, I do have the mods, but since you're limited to 4 or less, and the main population, the people that go in the Dark Zone, are all running the hives, so it is better in my opinion to have the hazard protection over the likes of, let's say, explosive resistance, because those can even be found either on mods or the 2-piece Negotiator's Dilemma. And you know, with this kind of setup and having to go with the Berserk Clutch, you're kind of limited in your options, so at least you have one covered over the other. But basically, I mean, anything helps, but as you can see in PvP, it doesn't give me much, but it does give me at least 10k to help my survivability a little bit further. But if you choose to, say, run a Defender drone or something of that nature, then it all falls to personal preference. And then of course a chem launcher, and I'm not getting, you know, too much armor repair out of either one. So in this case, when running more or less a crit build and only having, you know, limited amount of utilities, then you kind of, you know, have to go with what you got. And at least the flame grenades utilizing the Sharpshooter does come in handy, because if they're on fire and don't have hazard protection themselves, then they're stuck hip firing until they can put themselves out. But let's go on to the stats. Starting first with the Vector. As you can see, I'm right at 58% crit chance. The other mask I have actually has 11%. That puts me over. But since that mask in the Den of Thieves only had 5% crit chance on it, then the health was more valuable than getting that 2 extra percent to hit me at the crit chance cap. Now on to the other stats. 15.5% all weapon damage bonus. I still get 17 to assault rifles, LMGs, then 47 to SMGs. So not too bad. See, that's a little over about 63%. Now you can see no explosive resistance. And these are the rest of my stats. 127, 672 health regen, 15% protection from elites, 50% pulse resistance, and 60% hazard protection, which includes bleed, blind, burn, confuse, disrupt, shock, poison, and ensnare. So all in all, I think it's a great, balanced build when it comes to damage slash a good amount of health, as well as some protection for status effects. So shout out to Marky Mark MF. He wanted a clear and precise build when it comes to the SMG variety. So I hope this works out for you and it was something along the lines of what you were thinking about and looking forward to. But thank you guys so much for all the love and support. We are, wow, I mean, I'm blown away and I'm humbled by all the support that you guys and the Gorilla Nation have shown me as of late. I was just, hoping just to creep over that mountaintop of 10K, but now we're almost at 11K, and you guys humble me and make me feel so blessed with all the love and support. But since some of you that don't really support me but comment anyways and say I ramble on, then I do apologize for that too, but I'm me. But thank you guys, we'll see you punching later.